Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the Marketplace. Coming up, civil society organizations call for the suspension of the Agyapa Minerals Royalty Agreement until all necessary documents have been disclosed. Also this afternoon, President Akufo-Addo has been visiting some financial institutions. We'll bring you an update. And economists warns election year overspending could prolong recovery from impact of COVID-19. Thanks for being with us. Details right after this break. And welcome back to the Marketplace. This afternoon, civil society organizations are calling for the suspension of the Agyapa Minerals Royalty Agreement until all necessary documents have been disclosed. They are calling for a multi-stakeholder conference to relook the deal. Campaign coordinator for ISODEC, Steve Mantiao, addressed a press conference in Accra.
The opaque manner in which the Act is being implemented, the relatively weak transparency and public oversight arrangements, and the haste with which the government is running to the market in spite of concerns being raised by a broad spectrum of the Ghanaian populace, do not engender public trust and consensus building around matters of public policy as important as this one. This approach rather raises moral and governance questions. The assumption that once everything goes through Parliament, it is above board and represents the interests of all Ghanaians is deceptive and turns democracy on its head. It makes the elected the only relevant stakeholders in policymaking. And as former US President Barack Obama once noted, it wrongly assumes that democracy is a transaction to be executed between leaders and the people only at elections. Ladies and gentlemen, Ghanaians will probably not have lost sleep over this Agyapa mineral income investment transaction if it had been orchestrated under an open and transparent regime such as the Petroleum Revenue Management Act provides. Indeed, what the government is intending to do with our mineral royalties would not have been permissible under the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. For instance, Section 5 of the Act prohibits the use of Petroleum Holding Fund, which includes royalties, as collateral for borrowing. And this is what exactly we are trying to do with our mineral royalty. It also prohibits borrowing against the country's petroleum reserves, which sadly is what the Minerals Income Investment Fund seeks to do. Ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to engage, as always, to learn, debate, and challenge government on ways to optimize the mineral royalties if government is willing to activate those democratic channels. Those who have divergent views are equal stakeholders in the mineral revenue. Therefore, attempts to disregard dissenting views is most unfortunate, as they defy the principle of participatory decision-making, which forms the bedrock of democratic practice. We take this opportunity to call on His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to, 1, acknowledge that though the Minerals Income Investment Fund and its special purpose vehicle may be legal without public input, it fundamentally goes against his pact with the Ghanaian people, particularly the mining communities, to cede 20% of mineral royalties to develop the communities.
All right, Joseph Opoku-Gapo covered that press conference for us. He joins me in the studio with more on this concerns being raised by the civil society organizations. Tell us which organizations were at the press conference, Joseph.
So that's Dr. Steve Mantiao of ISODEC. Right behind him, as you saw, was Ben Boachi of the African Center for Energy Policy. And then Imani Ghana, as well as the Center for Democratic Development and a number of others. There are actually 15 of them the Civil Society Platform on Oil and Gas, as well as the Center for Extractives and Development Africa are part of this.
Great. So what are the specific concerns raised by the civil society organizations?
They think, for example, Parliament didn't do a good job in terms of adequate oversight in allowing for this particular transaction to go through and giving it the necessary approval. They think that it will not be in the interest of the country if the nation's gold royalties are monetized for a lump sum currently going into the future. And they actually had very specific demands of the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. For example, they're saying that they would want to see a suspension of the implementation of the Mineral Income Investment Fund legislation until all documents relating to the establishment of this special purpose vehicle, that's Agyapa Mineral Royalties, and its beneficiary owners are disclosed. And they also want to see a situation where there should be a multi-stakeholder review in order to ensure that these investments actually benefit the necessary communities. And they're asking that government effort in terms of how they've established this firm in a tax haven, they think it sends very bad signals to the ordinary members of the public, and so government should be careful. They think that the whole agreement, and they use some very interesting words, they think it's an elite capture of the state's resources, and Ghanaian people have been shortchanged, which is why they want brakes put on that particular agreement.
Okay, and so they are also casting doubt about the capital that is required to be raised for this deal.
You know, in summary, the idea behind this is that the nation's gold royalties for some years to come, the estimation about 15 years, a lump sum will be raised on the international market, the London Stock Exchange, the Ghana Stock Exchange, about $1 billion US, 500 million of that will go to government in order for government to use for necessary development initiatives. Right. They're making the point that there's been a lot of bad mouthing of this particular agreement right from Parliament. You recall John Jinapo, a minority MP on the Finance Committee, cautioning investors against investing in this, and we're hearing from the CSOs themselves raising concerns about it. They think that there's been a lot of bad mouthing of this whole structure, and they think that if government goes ahead to do the necessary listing of Agyapa on the stock exchange to sell out 49% of it, chances are that enough resources would not come in and that they will not be able to raise the expected capital, which is why they think a whole reconstruction of the
And the question, though, as to whether they are going to get a listening ear from the government, which seems as though it has made up its mind about it.
It's a question that I put to them, that Parliament passed the law in 2018 to allow for this. That law was amendment about 2 months ago in order to allow for this. The agreement itself has actually been approved, although it was done by just one side of the House. How sure are they that the President will pay attention? And they say this is actually part of a series of activities that they would roll out in order to put pressure on government, in order to put brakes on it. And for Dr. Stimantiao, if government doesn't listen, they would also support the call by former President Mahama and his caution that he will not respect this agreement if power changes hands eventually.
Right. Thanks for bringing us up to date, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo. We are grateful. Now, the Ghana Mine Workers Union is making a strong case for the recapitalization of the mining sector. According to the union, this is a better alternative to calls for the introduction of a windfall tax on mining profits. Speaking to Joy Business at the National Executive Council meeting, General Secretary of the union, Abdul Mumengbana, said an increased investment for the sector will improve its market offering and create more jobs. Bismarck Awusa has more in this report.
The Ghana Mine Workers Union has cautioned government to not rush in the imposition of windfall tax on mining companies in view of the soaring gold prices on the world market. According to the union's General Secretary, Abdul Mumengbana, an ambitious recapitalization plan would rather place the mining industry on a sound footing to create additional jobs in the economy.
We believe as a union that it's important to recapitalize, because recapitalization would afford opportunity for expansion of infrastructure, mining infrastructure and mining systems. We also believe that it will give us opportunity to increase exploration activity, given the critical nature of the state we find ourselves as a country. The Ghana Mine Workers Union believes that rather than imposing windfall taxes on these mining companies, we should give them opportunity to pump the money back into the business.
Mr. Gbana spoke to Joy Business at the union's National Executive Council meeting, which was held in Sunyani. On his part, the national chairman of the Mine Workers Union, Mensa Jakari, expressed worry about fixed contract mining.
Permanent workers, full-time workers are made redundant. And the sad aspect is that when they are made redundant and they are getting them back, they employ them on a fixed-term contract basis, which I think it is something that we are talking to the government. Because now, if you look at even the gold price, it has gone up more than $2,000.
The Ghana Mine Workers Union has pledged to improve the quality of life of mining communities through collaborations with these communities under its program dubbed Mine Workers Partner Communities. Bismarck Ausa, Joy Business.
Now, President Akufo-Addo has been paying familiarization visits to institutions including the Bank of Ghana and the Securities and Exchange Commission. Presidential correspondent Elton John Brobe has joined us with the latest from the President's store. Elton, why this visit by the President to these institutions?
What I can say for sure is that the meeting just ended. The President first had a meeting with the leadership of the Bank of Ghana and then later addressed what I want to describe as a mini press briefing at the banking hall of the Bank of Ghana. Now, a few pointers came out regarding the 6 collapsed commercial banks. According to the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, they have paid 100% of all depositors' money. And they've paid 95% of deposited money with those that lodged with the collapsed microfinance and rural banks. Now, you also mentioned that they had issues with Dr. Indus Baga's GN Bank, but they've resolved that issue, and going forward this way, they will start payment for depositors affected by the collapse of the GN Bank. So that is for the collapsed banks. President Akufo-Addo on his part said that despite the challenges with the economy occasioned by the coronavirus pandemic, latest report from the Finance Ministry and the Bank of Ghana suggests that the economy is about picking itself up. And he gave credit to the governor of the Bank of Ghana and the Finance Minister, but mentioned that the reforms undertaken by the Bank of Ghana within the banking sector must be enforced strictly to ensure total compliance. Darrell.
Where is he headed next, Elton?
We are just leaving the premises of Bank of Ghana and we are heading towards the Ghana Stock Exchange, where he's undertaking a similar familiarization tour.
All right, thanks very much indeed, Elton John Brobe. We will be linking up, if we can, with my colleague Eben Sabote, who is at the Ghana Stock Exchange, where they are waiting the President's visit. We'll bring you the latest from there as soon as we get Eben to join us. Now, the total amount of foreign currencies kept with commercial banks witnessed some significant growth to hit over $4 billion at the end of May this year. That's according to a Bank of Ghana report covering developments in the economy and the banking sector. George Afe has more.
The amount of the total deposits with commercial banks in several currencies, like pounds and the euros. However, for purpose of easy understanding and analysis, we'll work out everything in dollars. A careful look at the data from May last year to May 2020 showed that foreign currency went up significantly. However, it is not clear for now what might be the reason for this huge growth, whether challenges to the Ghana cedi might have contributed to this, or more people were just turning to foreign currency deposits just to protect their investments from inflation. Others are also worried about this practice where some people and businesses go out there, close their cedi accounts, look for dollars to buy, and open these foreign currency accounts. Some have also argued that this practice often deprives businesses of that needed dollar cash to facilitate their imports. This practice often contributes to some pressure on the Ghana cedi, a development that leads to the perennial depreciation of the local currency the last quarter of each year and the first quarter of the new year. Some of these firms and individuals that operate these accounts have told Joy Business that they are forced to do this because of the fact that most firms out there are quoting their services and transactions in dollars. While the Bank of Ghana may still have some work to do in terms of enforcing its laws that seeks to bar the quotation of prices of some goods and services in the country in dollars.
So we head next to the Ghana Stock Exchange. As we have been reporting, the President is expected there. Eben Sabote is awaiting the President's visit as well as other officials of the Ghana Stock Exchange. Eben, you are already reporting a boom in trading activities ahead of the President's visit.
Yes, before break of dawn, GCE and ETI began some trading, can be attributed to the visit by president. Because when you look at the data, since COVID broke out, there hasn't been any active trading on the stock exchange. Except yesterday, we traded more than 4,000 shares. After this afternoon, that's about 3,000 shares already exchanged now. And as I speak, Carbon is going.
All right, and Eben, what is the anticipation there as the president is expected to arrive in a few minutes?
We all know that there has been an issue with the share pricing, and we know that there hasn't been any much increase in share prices due to some selling pressure. So it's expected that the president will be meeting the managers of the stock exchange to find a way of addressing this issue. There has also been issue of security here, that is COVID-19 issues when it comes to using the virtual platforms to trade and order. So the president is expected to engage the managers best to see how best we can address the issue.
All right, Ibn Sabti, thanks very much indeed. That is the floor of the Ghana Stock Exchange where we expect the president in a moment from now. Now, the country could risk prolonging its economic recovery process from the COVID-19 pandemic if checks are not put in place to halt overspending on election-related programs. This is a warning from economist and head of financial advisory at Deloitte, Yaolate. According to him, though government can spend within the projected fiscal deficit target of 11.4% of GDP this year, a further overspending will push the economy into difficult times.
All the 26 countries in the EU have all suspended the cap. We also know countries like Jamaica and other countries also that have a fiscal responsibility cap have suspended it. And it's just within what others are doing, or on the light of that, that government has also decided to suspend it. And we have a novel situation in which case government has every right to suspend it. I think we are also still within the global deficit threshold of 13.9%. Currently, we are projecting 11.4%, which is still below the global average of deficit of 13.9%. I think the only caution we have there is that governments to still have some form of self-check and ensure that we still keep to at least the 11.4%. We should not go beyond the global average of 13.9%. Because this is an election year, we stand a risk of going beyond that. And the danger with that is that it will lengthen the recovery process after COVID-19. Because COVID-19 has put us in a hole. And so if you overspend, we are going to increase the period of recovery from the pandemic.
Do you think we failed the litmus test? Because like you did say, we're an election year, and like this is the time we need to prove to people, we need to prove to the international community that we'll be able to spend within our targets. Do you think we failed the litmus test?
I think that in the absence of the pandemic, we would have really put the right question to government and say that, look, this is an election year. You were supposed to keep to your promise of a deficit of less than 5%. And it was projected around about 4.7%. And so that was still below the cap. But now we are projecting 11.4%. Given the situation that we find ourselves, we have had to overspend, particularly to fight the COVID and also to support companies that are suffering or that have had the adverse consequences of the pandemic on their businesses.
And finally, this afternoon, as organizations go virtual and transact business online due to COVID-19, cyber attacks are increasing by the day. This puts users who have not secured their cyberspace at risk. The E-Crime Bureau says attackers are capitalizing on vulnerabilities in gadgets and software to perpetrate crime. Cyber analysts with the E-Crime Bureau, Sitope Elo, says strengths over the years reveal securing cyber assets is crucial. The E-Crime Bureau discloses at the first post-lockdown monthly business meeting of the Tema branch of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce. There's more in this report.
In Ghana, unsuspecting businesses and individuals lose millions of dollars to the ever-increasing cybercrime. With virtual world gaining popularity due to outbreak of COVID-19, businesses will continue to be susceptible to cyber attacks. E-Crime Bureau, which provides forensic support and training to organizations on nefarious activities of cyber attackers, is alarmed. The Bureau took participants through techniques attackers use in assessing sensitive information and activities in the dark web. Cyber analyst forensics at E-Crime Bureau, Akufo-Addo, says some businesses downplay cyber threats.
When you tell people things that these are the things that happen, this is the modus operandi of the attackers, they will not believe unless they see it happening live. Okay, so there was this time in 2017 where we went to the dark web and we saw Ghanaian credit cards that were being sold as low as $2, $1, and all that. So we just called the institution and asked them, okay, we are seeing your cards in the dark web. Should we go ahead and purchase them and try them to see if they are live, they are working cards? I said, okay, they didn't believe it. I can't mention the name of the bank though. So we bought these credit cards, then we gave it back to them to try. And when they tested it, they were live cards that were, that were being sold in the dark web. So it gave them an indication that their systems were compromised. Okay, so they had to go back and do a forensic audit on their PCs to see where the compromise is coming from, and they were able to get to the root of it.
Meanwhile, Tema Regional Chair of Ghana Chamber of Commerce, Isaac Yusuf Barry, is calling on all to help fight cybercrime.
The cyberspace is there already, and it is offering what it's supposed to offer. What we're trying to protect is the truncation that happens, that takes people's data, impersonation that happens within the cyberspace is what we are trying to guard against, for our businesses to be strong, to create more employment within our system. So the space, the information flow should be there, but there should be no truncation by any hackers anywhere. This is something not only for businesses, it is something I hope everybody can take serious and work on and get to a point. Let's not be fooled, because it's happening. So let's tackle it.
Participants of the workshop were also taken through how they can prepare their business for emerging markets.
And that's the marketplace.